A study by Dodge Data and Analytics released in 2023 found that change orders can increase the cost of a project anywhere from 10 to up to 25% of the total contract value. How does Hogan Design and Construction help their clients manage change orders to not get too out of hand?
So unfortunately, change orders are a part of this business, and there's a kind of a standard way of doing that, which is what most customers are experiencing when they're seeing this 10 to 25%. You do that free bid thing that we talk about, where you have 3 different contractors come out. They give you an estimate based off of the conversation that you've had with them at that first walkthrough. You're getting 3 very different estimates on 3 very different projects because it's 3 very different interpretations of the same conversation. And when you do that, once you sign into the contract, they're going to start figuring out the details with you. They might put a $2,000 cabinet allowance in for your vanity in your bathroom, and then you find a cabinet that's $2,800. And then they put, a $75 a square foot allowance in for your countertops, and you pick something that's $110 a square foot. And so this keeps happening over and over again, and the change orders keep mounting. So that 10 to 25% is pretty typical in that type of atmosphere. Working with a design build firm, our goal is to get all of that stuff figured out on the front end. The goal is to make sure that we know what you're putting in, have an electrical plan, a floor plan, all of that spelled out, clearly signed off on and approved by you and by us, so that when we bid the project, we're giving you accurate numbers based on the actual scope of work and the actual materials being used. The other part is, the subcontractor is not seeing the project. In that typical bid, let's just say, for example, you're doing, again, a hall bathroom. The goal is to put a new bath fan in, 2 new lights, and an outlet. You're going to get a bill for that. Day one, the electrician comes out and says, well, the smoke detectors in the house are not up to code. And so because we pulled a permit, we're going to need to upgrade that. So it's going to be, $1,100 more for that. So you're getting hit with these change orders that have been addressed on the front end, but they're not, because they're not looking at the whole scope. They're looking at exactly what you talked about. And then, again, with the Hogan project, I've mentioned this before, but there's 3 things that change our cost. Number 1, customer changes something. This is the most common thing. I've had projects where we get up into that 10 to 25% range, but 100% customer driven. We're remodeling a kitchen, and then they end up adding a staircase, refinishing all the floors, and then redoing their powder room. That's all customer driven change orders. They decided they wanted to make those changes. Absolutely, we're happy to help. But those type of change orders are not a surprise to the customer by any means. The other 2 items that you would run into are inspectors making us do something strange, or, again, some sort of safety issue, whether it's rot, mold, structural repairs, electrical repairs, things like that. So do change orders happen in our industry? Absolutely. But can they be controlled? Absolutely, by doing your work on the front end.